Hey guys, so I attended a it was held by Rock Tape, but it's called RockPods and RockFloss seminar over the weekend. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about it and share with you some of the stuff that I learned and talk about how we may be able to apply some of this to the animals that we work on. So to start with, RockPods is their cupping seminar. So if you're familiar with cupping, it's been used for thousands of years. It's usually currently used by acupuncturists or those who practice Chinese medicine. And traditionally, they would use cups that they would actually put a flame underneath, and the flame would use up the oxygen in there, so it would create a suction when you would place the cup down on the skin. Rock Tape has come up with their own form of pods, but instead of having to use any kind of flames, which obviously could be dangerous in a clinical setting, these are just kind of like little suction cups. So they're really easy to apply. You can just kind of, cell phone here again. You can just kind of plunge it and it sticks right to the area that you're applying it to. And they have two sizes. They have a red size, which is their smaller size, and then they have a black size, which is the larger cup. So same thing, just going to plunge it and stick it on. So you may be asking, why would we want to use cupping? And you can kind of see, maybe not so much right now. Kind of see a little bit of it, but basically when a cup's left on for any prolonged period of time, you're going to have redness underneath it. And that redness is indicative of the blood that's being brought to the area from the suction. So the cool thing about cupping is that while we would use kinesiology tape to have a decompressive effect on the tissue, because the tape would lift whatever area we are taping and cause a decompression of the underlying soft tissue, these cups do the same thing, but to an extreme. Whereas with the tape, we would have a mild decompression. The cups are going to give us more of a severe decompression. It's going to be much more intense, especially in the area that we're applying it. So for that reason, this is something that we wouldn't leave on for a prolonged period of time. At the Rock Pod seminar, they recommended using it for anywhere from like 30 to 90 seconds would be about the max that you would want to leave it on a particular area. We're not trying to create any kind of bruises or really long-lasting marks when we put these on, although sometimes people, if they are sensitive to it, they may develop more redness than others. But the goal is not really to create any kind of bruising or anything of that nature, but rather we want to affect the tissues basically in a similar way that we would with the rock tape to have that decompressive effect, which we can use similar to rock tape to decrease the pain sensation. We can also do a little bit of neuromuscular reeducation with it, stuff of that nature. And it will have, when we were utilizing this in the classroom, I got to see it firsthand, but you will also have an increased range of motion after using the rock pods. So it's a pretty cool technique. One application that I think it could work well with for animals is when using it over scars. If an animal has a scar that is healed and there's a lot of fibrous connective tissue and there's not much skin glide, if you're not able to get normal skin glide under there, kind of like when you're feeling to see if there's myofascial restrictions when we're doing myofascial release. These pods could come in handy for that. You can actually put the pod directly over the scar area. You can put it directly over the scar, but you want to make sure the scar is healed when you do this. And it'll give a really strong suction and decompression to that area. And then you can actually manipulate the pods to try to break up some of that scar tissue and get some more movement into there. So when we're doing that externally, we call that it's an external input that we're doing with the cups. And if the animal moves around with the pods on, then that's going to give it some internal stimulation with the cups on. So those are a couple things that you can do to kind of enhance the effects rather than just sticking the cup on and letting it sit there, which can be done as well. But putting a little bit of movement into there will just give it better effects. So one of the difficulties of using this on animals, obviously, it sticks really well to skin. It doesn't stick so well to hair. So on the dogs, I've actually had a lot of difficulty. I haven't really been able to get it to stick over their hair at all. In Tabitha, as you can see in this photo and video. I was able to get it to stick to her belly, which was good because she has a scar from when she was spayed. So I could use this over like spay scars, stuff like that, in areas where they don't really have a whole lot of hair. So it would be good for something of that nature. With the horses, I had better luck getting it to stick, but I had to wet the coat first. As long as the coat was nice and wet, I could get good suction, and I was able to utilize it to do a little bit more with them as far as muscle-wise. I could also use it over an area where Shay has a scar to help put in a little more input into that area and try to release some of that tissue. I've done myofascial release on Shay, and I've done a lot of stuff around the scar. She's had the scar now probably for like, I don't know, maybe 10 years she's had it, so it's been there for a while. And I used the cups on it, and I had a video. I thought I was taping it, but unfortunately the video didn't come out. Instead, I just took a picture. But what I thought I was taping was showing how you can put a pod on either side of the scar, and then you can use those pods simultaneously to put movement into them to manipulate the scar tissue in the center. And when I was doing that, she gave a really big release, which was good to see because I haven't seen her release quite as well with other techniques that I've used over the scar. And I also did notice afterwards when I was just putting my fingers over the area and checking for skin glide that I did notice that I had some more skin glide, which is a really good sign as well. So I do think that these pods can for sure come in handy in animal applications. Like I said, the hair is going to be the biggest thing that you got to watch out for because it does make it difficult to get that suction that you're looking for. But if you wet down the coat of a horse, it seems to work pretty well. You may want to try wetting down the coat of a dog. I wasn't able to get it to really stick even when I wet down my dog's coats. But like I said, I could get it to stick on other, like the belly tissue where there's not really hair. Things that you want to be careful with when you're utilizing these, since it does create an intense suction, you can cause bruising and you can cause a little bit of discomfort. So you want to use the less is more mentality. With people, like I said, they usually recommend 30 to 90 seconds. With animals, I usually leave it on even less than that. Maybe like 15, 20 seconds max while I'm, doing a little bit of external movement with it. And then we'll just pop those off of there. You can also do a technique called rapid cupping, which I think actually can work well with animals, especially horses, if you can wet them down and do this over a muscle that may be particularly painful for them, because that can have a good pain reduction sensation. And basically to rapid cup, you basically pop it on, pop it off, pop it on, pop it off. And you're just gonna repeat that. And you can just keep repeating this for about a minute or so over that muscle tissue. And then you can move them around and see if you're getting any better range of motion after that. This will make some funny sounds as you're trying to suction it on there. But basically what you're looking for is getting that popping sound off. And what you can see when you do the popping, when you're doing it real quick, you're not really gonna see a whole lot of redness. You might have a little bit underneath there, but it's gonna clear up pretty quickly. So this is a good technique too that we could use on horses over muscles and stuff. But that's basically it as far as the pods go. Let's see if there's anything I missed. But yeah, I mean, they can help, similar to taping, you can help improve the sensory map, help with proprioception, help decrease pain, improve motor control. So it is a good tool to have. I'm really happy that I have it. I have it in my bag now to take to jobs, so I can start incorporating some cupping when I feel that it's appropriate. The other part of the seminar, day 2, was about RockFloss. So flossing, I don't know if anybody's heard of this. If you're big into, I don't know, like bodybuilding and CrossFit and things of that nature, I guess flossing is pretty popular in those demographics these days. But basically what this is it looks kind of like a roll of rock tape, but it's not rock tape. It's a kind of like a rubber band, if anybody's ever used TheraBands for exercises and stuff. Kind of similar to that, just kind of a band that you can use to do stretches and do different exercises. But the difference with the RockFloss is that they actually use this to provide compression. So with the cupping, we're doing decompression, we're actually lifting the tissue. With the floss, we're doing more of a compression. So kind of similar to those of you that have ever done a compression wrap on like a horse's leg. It's going to be kind of similar to that, where we can use it to mobilize fluid So you always want to wrap starting at the bottom and going up towards the heart because you're going to try to be pumping it up that way. With people, they apply this over different muscles, different areas, and they're going to be using this basically, like I said, you can use it for fluid mobilization, or you can also use it to try to increase range of motion. So a lot of these athletes or people that are, heavy into their workouts, they'll use this as kind of like a warm-up procedure where they'll wrap particular muscles that they know tend to be tight on them, go through some ranges of motions, do a couple exercises with this on. You don't want to wear this for more than about 3 minutes because you are cutting off the venous circulation. So it's not going to really cut off the arterial because you can't get deep enough, but it will cut off the venous circulation. So you're not going to have that venous backflow that you normally have. So you'll do damage if you keep this on long term. So about 3 minutes would be the max. And then when you pull it off and you go and try the range of motion again, you'll see that you have increased range of motion. We did a lot of this in the workshop and on each other, and it was pretty cool, the results that we got. So thinking about how I could use this with animals, they have 2 different sizes. This is the 2-inch, and they do also have a 4-inch too, similar to the rock tape, but this is again a band, but a 4-inch wide band. I do think that there could be some applications for animals with this. I would want to be really careful because it can be a bit uncomfortable when applying this to people. I've had it applied to me during the workshop, so I know that it's not always the most comfortable thing. So I don't know that I would necessarily incorporate this in my animal practice just because I don't want to cause any kind of discomfort to the animals, and I don't want to have, I don't really want to be utilizing techniques that could maybe increase the risk of injury to them since it is cutting off some circulation. Circumstances where I think it might be helpful is if you have like a horse that's really stocked up that you need a little extra pumping of the, getting that fluid pumped back up the leg. You can maybe do a compression wrap or something with this, leave it on for about 45 seconds to a minute, pull it off, and then apply some kinesiology tape, the inflammation reduction taping. That might be a beneficial thing, but it's something, like I said, that I'd have to try and see how it works out before really recommending that. But I could see possibly some applications where it could be beneficial. But my take home over the weekend was basically, as far as what I plan on doing, I do plan on incorporating some of the RockPods into my animal practice and seeing what kind of results those get me. So I'm looking forward to checking that out. And if you guys happen to pick up any RockPods or playing with any of this stuff and you get any kind of results, good or bad, please feel free to share them with me. Thanks.